Turn the dial to a starry night. Intergalactic light so bright. Dakota show so out of sight. Blast off now, take flight. Aliens and rockin' tunes. Country beats under the moons. Space dust in my boots, all new. Gigolos hosting soon. Welcome to the galaxy. Radio waves so wild and free. Tune and feel the energy. With Dakota ride the beat. Let it spin to every song.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dakota Frandsen. I am the one, the only Intergalactic Gigolo. How are you today? Some of you may be wondering exactly what is going on. What is this big motherfucker up to now? Well, quite frankly, for the last little while I felt there need to be some changes. It's the old ways, how we started out the system, how Bald and Bonkers came to be. It's just no longer working. The Bald and Bonkers boys ain't exactly what we used to be. You know, that's life. I'm not saying this out of hatred. I'm not saying this to start any drama. I'm just speaking what I see as the truth. And what I see as the truth is that past started to diverge a while ago. And separation was inevitable. Maybe we'll do another show together again from time to time, but life is about growth. It's about change. It's about becoming something better. Sometimes you gotta sit back and realize something just ain't working no more. It's time to move on. Time to do something better. Something bigger. Especially with how chaotic the world seems these days. You know what I mean? On one hand, it's helpful that we focus on the good. Focus on the reward. Focus on the positive aspects of it all. But in the end, life is about balance. Sometimes we got to acknowledge that there's some nasty things underlying, problems that may arise in the near future if something is not done to course correct. I like to think of it as like preparing your personal vehicle for a road trip. You know, it's probably not the most top of the line. It's probably got a few things wrong with it, maybe a couple leaks here and there, some worn out parts, a weak battery, tires that might need a changing, typical stuff. So what is it that you do? What is it that you really should do in this instance? If you happen to be knowledgeable about vehicles and believe that you have the means to take care of the issues yourself, then by all means, go for it. But chances are, if you're planning for a big trip and you want to minimize your risk of something going wrong with the vehicle, because let's face it, the last thing you want is to be out and about trying to enjoy yourself, trying to explore the world as you should. Last thing you need is to end up stranded on the side of the road somewhere, you know? So, I guess you can kind of compare this to that very instance. Excuse me. It was time for a change. Bald and Bonkers boys are still friends, but it's time for the past to diverge. And we're not here going to be spreading hate. We're not going to be spreading all this discord. I've had just about enough of that. Haven't you? Now, granted, that does not erase any notion that I will not step up to correct something I feel is wrong. In order to keep the positive, to maintain what's good in life, sometimes you got to step up and fight for it. It's unfortunate. And sometimes you're going to have to get your hands dirty. That's a fact. Conflict will always be among us, no matter what point we are with our lives, no matter what dimensions or densities we find ourselves in. There will always be some kind of conflict, as conflict breeds evolution. It's time to evolve, people. It's time to grow. It's time to change. The insanity of the last 5 years, a little over 5 years now, that alone should show that the old systems in the world just ain't working no more. And yeah, things are going to get chaotic. You're probably going to see some things come out, See the truth about certain family members around you. See the truth about certain friends. You may start to see people disappear from your life. And that's okay. It's a natural part of life. Sometimes people just drift apart. But does that mean you should stop? Does that mean you should compromise yourself to try to keep these people around? Hell no. Dakota, what do you mean? Here's what I mean. Moving forward, Bald and Bonkers, Intergalactic Gigolo, Frandsen Files, and whatever else may unfold. There's going to be a change in how it all comes forward. It's time to put some dedication to the mission. When the company got started, when our main show got started, it was about providing a fair platform for others to share their story, their insights, their ideas, their thoughts, and maybe, just maybe, throw in a few jokes here and there to help comfort everybody. Because let's face it, the transition that comes from acknowledging what's truly out there in the world, when it comes to realizing that there may in fact be ghosts that go bump in the night, there may be creatures that we have yet to discover. In fact, most definitely, there may be things out there we have yet to discover. There are things out there yet to be discovered. The extraterrestrials, yeah, they're out there. They may even be among us. There might be a few listening to this broadcast as we speak. Creation is so much bigger. So why is it that we only barricade ourselves to our homes? We only try to explore the world, explore what's out there, explore creation through the flat screens on all of our electronic devices. Maybe some of you are old school and pick up a physical book. Maybe some of you actually do and get out there. And I hold high praise for the individuals who actually take the time to research, to study, to get themselves out into the field, to see these things for themselves. Because that's the only way you're going to truly understand, truly comprehend the absolute magnificence of what's out there. Not trying to pick fights on social media over concepts you deem silly. Not trying to put down others just because you want to grow your channel. Not trying to claim ownership over other individuals because you think you're all big and bad because you're the one that created. You're the one that put together a team. If you're lucky and fortunate enough to have a team willing to work with you to help push a dream forward, you don't take advantage of that. If you're in this life, if you are fortunate enough to have people step up and try to help you become a better person, to help you achieve your true potential, to be free, you don't ever backstab those people. You may have a few jokes here and there, have a few laughs. Those people, they're not obligated to stick around you. Truth be told, that's always why I took the solo approach. I didn't like binding myself to others in the event I made a mistake. Because the thought was, if I was running solo and I mess up, the fault falls back on me. The consequences fall back on me. I didn't have to worry about it affecting others. But unfortunately, for me, in that regard, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we started to build something bigger than we imagined. Chris and I. An opportunity to unite people, to bring forward people who for some reason felt isolated, felt outcasted, felt alone. And I feel like the latest quarrels that have been seen on the Bald and Bonkers show, especially with the most recent attempt to try to revive things, to try to mend those bridges, to try to bring the show back to what it was meant to be. That vision's been lost. So I'm going to do what I do best. For the gloves to come off, time for the work to be put in. So, you're probably wondering then, what's the plans for the Intergalactic Gigolo? Well, talk about life. Talk about things going on in the world. Maybe take some questions from viewers. Because I know there's been a few people asking, Dakota, what the heck's going on? Why are you switching things up? Well, everything I just mentioned before is precisely why. It's time to do something better. Do something to actually try to help people. I don't care If it racks me up thousands and thousands of subscribers, most of the ones that try to preach about the subscriber growth, they usually pay off through some dubious resources. And let's face it, if you actually looked at some of their followers, it's pretty obvious they're spam accounts from some click farms out of Asia. It's not that hard to find. I want this to be real as much as is possible. Because let's face it, with the advent of artificial intelligence, for how good a lot of these programs are getting, and let's face it, they are getting scary impressive. The lines between reality and imagination are truly becoming blurred. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's sort of a double-edged sword that we're supposed to go through in this time, to force us to really question what's going on, what's really out there. Because, the old saying, you never know what happens behind closed doors. But what if someone could easily manipulate it, twist the image, simply create a clone of some unsuspecting victim to commit the most heinous of crimes? Scam callers are already starting to do this with voice cloning technology that a lot of artificial text-to-speech programs have started to put out. And unless you have a severely thick accent, you're not safe from it. And like myself, the fact that I put myself out here, put my name, my voice, my story, the fact that I put myself out there puts me in the line of fire. And that has made some people near me kind of nervous. Now, granted, I've been going at this before these situations unfolded. But as some of you may know, who've been following me for a while, know that there's been a very significant change that's happened recently in my life. I sort of became a surrogate daddy. My younger sister had a little girl this past December, almost 7 months old. And roughly close to the end of her pregnancy, up until about the first few months when we were able to help her get into a decent daycare program, I took a few steps back from this. I still worked at it. I still maintained a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, but in that time, I feel like I've let things slide. I had something much more important to focus on. Just, there comes points in time where we have to stop and think about our place. When there's times for a change. And for me, lately it's been, what is it I can do to allow myself to grow? To allow myself to be more the person I want to be happy, and most importantly, what is it I could do to get out there and do the most good? And these feelings started to become even stronger over time, especially as some of you may have heard that there was a pretty significant development in the alien side of my life. The biggest one yet, the one I've been waiting 16 years for. And that for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, here's a quick summary. There's an increasing amount of evidence that suggests that at some truly dark points in my life, incidents that certain individuals who understandably were just trying to help through their own knowledge base, there were points where seemingly divine intervention took place to give me motivation to power through everything that happened. There's increased amount of evidence to suggest that those moments of divine intervention may have been actual extraterrestrial influence through concepts more popularly known as star seeds. Now, as many of you know, I tend to follow individuals like Dr. Michael Salla, Elena Denon, Danny Henderson. I know I haven't been popping up in a lot of their video chats lately, but again, I sort of became a daddy, and that's had to take first priority. I tend to follow their works because following their advice, having the honor and privilege, and having personally tested a lot of their ideas, a lot of their concepts, I knew they were legitimate. Instead of just some random mess I found on TikTok, I knew they were the real deal. And because of how much they helped me understand what had happened, I owe an incredible amount of gratitude to them. and that will not change. As for others who have been around me, they have made their choice in where they want to stand. And in response, I make my choice to do things how I want to see them grow. I can't control how others react. I can only come on here, share what I know, tell the stories, create what I want to create, help as many as I can along the way. But I can't influence how others react, how others change, how others decide to pursue their own interests. I just can't. It would be wrong of me. And it would rob me of the time and energy that could be used to focus on what matters. So that significant developments that came forward, the extraterrestrial influence, was through the appearance of young children who called me dad, who inexplicably, when you look at them, you can see right away that, yeah, they're related to me. My son, as he's grown up, his voice sounds a lot like mine, even. It's kind of spooky. And there's been people who have witnessed me in the sky flying around. Sounds like we're going to have an interview set up with one of those eyewitnesses very soon. But the significant development was that I found the mother of those children. And slowly we've been trying to help each other understand this situation. Will you get to see her? Maybe one day. Because I got to respect her wishes in the same light. If she feels that she's not exactly comfortable coming forward in such a public platform, especially with how severe, how severe, that's not the right wording, how intricate and intimate the story has got. Finding out there's extraterrestrials out there is one thing. Discovering that there's a whole other life just sitting there, playing out as you're down here, where you're a mother and a wife, where you're a parent and a spouse to someone you didn't even know existed. That's a lot to take in. So those of you who have asked, you can speculate all you want. I'm going to honor her wishes. And I know that it's her because the kids have stepped forward and validated it. That's the part that's been the most incredible. The kids themselves stepped forward to both of us at numerous times, as we've found out. And as the situation keeps unfolding, we've been linked together for a very long time. And in many aspects, if it continues to carry on like how it's unfolded so far, I can say without a doubt I've fallen in love with her all over again. And she has shown an incredible amount of patience, time, and care. And that's not someone I want to betray. It's like I said before, if you're lucky in this life to have people, no matter where they may come from, whether they're from here on Earth or even out in the stars or whatever the situation may be, whether they're living, dead, whatever the situation may be, you honor them by doing everything in your power to become the best version of yourself as possible. You honor them by taking the right steps to correct any mistakes you make along the way. You honor them by making sure they never have a reason to doubt your love and gratitude for the time you get to have together. If you want to pursue things like a YouTube career, yeah, obviously, having numbers grow on your side will help open some doors, help attract some bigger name guests, and help grow things to places you may never expect. But what's your intent behind it? What's your intent for doing the things you choose to do, for the research you decide to get into? What is your intent behind it all? And yeah, along the way, you're going to need people to help you out. Never let those people feel unappreciated, feel belittled by you, because they're the ones that help make it really happen. You may be the face, you may be the name, you may be the founder, you may paint yourself in this magnificent little corner to try to deify yourself, but no journey is ever truly taken alone. Sometimes it's through a mentor by proxy situation where you followed the examples of certain idols you may have had over the years. And those individuals may have never met you in their life, may not even know you exist. Make sure you're truly understanding what those idols stand for, what they mean. Because a lot of corrupt individuals have taken advantage of the fact that people feel lost very easily. It's happened in religions, it's happened with celebrities, it's happened with corporate CEOs. That's why they say corporate CEOs have the same psychological profiles as psychopathic serial killers. And yeah, it may sound like I'm making jokes about certain things, but cross-check me if you want. There's truth behind the smile. Whatever path you choose, make sure you do it for the right reasons. Make sure it's truly in your heart, not to fill up your ego. Maybe allow at most 10% for your ego. Because while it may feel nice to get some sort of celebrity recognition for what it is you do, whatever it is it may be, it's a nice confidence boost, but don't let it get any further than that. Otherwise, you'll start to compromise yourself. For a lack of a better word, you'll end up selling your soul, selling your love, selling your friends, your family, and all for what? Think about how much of our world relies on the internet. What would happen if something were to happen to the lines, the cable lines that run underneath the ocean? What would happen if something took those out? Would you matter then? No one could access any of your videos. You can't access to anybody you may have had made friends with online. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing that we have access to technology that allows us to build friendships with people from other countries. It's an incredible learning opportunity. But what's your intent behind making those connections? I mean, hell, it's something that mainly started out of COVID. But here in Idaho, there was a couple from here who was the first ever couple to commit themselves into a long distance marriage. This was roughly 2020, 2021, if I remember correctly. But it was a couple from here in Idaho that was the first one ever to commit themselves to a long distance marriage. And granted, there was a lot of relationships that sprung that way because of COVID, everybody in lockdown. And I can't judge. I've been in a few long distance ones myself. And I figured I usually find an excuse to hit the road. You know, it would give me more target destinations, so I'm just not wandering too aimlessly. It's a beautiful thing to be able to reach out to meet others that you may have not otherwise get the chance to meet, to see what is truly out there, the experiences people have, the different cultures, even different slang they may have that may mean something in one country, but something completely different in another. It's a beautiful thing to be able to have this. And if you are able to build something to put some sort of skill out there that seems to help people, all the power to more power to you. But again, what's your intent? What is it that you want to truly do with this? What is it that you want to be remembered as? I remember a quote from a TV show called Forever. It's stars Ian Gufford. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Where he plays a gentleman who, for some reason, ever since he came over to the U.S. back in the 1700s, 1800s roughly. Unfortunately, the show only lasted for one season, but it made some very interesting points. One was, the quote was, "No man should ever truly die for as long as he is remembered." So for the artists, the writers, the sculptors, if you're able to have your work get out there, survive through the generations, and in a matter of speaking, that's a key to immortality. Speaking of writers, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Walden Bonkers is looking for submissions to the Why We Are Supernatural anthologies. We're looking for people to share their true stories of supernatural encounters, whether it's with ghosts, demons, angels, cryptids, ETs, no matter how heartfelt it makes you feel or how scary the story may seem, we want to hear it all. And to help promote the book a little further and get the stories out there just a bit more, we're opening up interviews one-on-one with myself. And I've already reached out to the 5 people that have stepped up so far. May not seem like a lot, but we're slowly getting there. I would like to include as many different stories as possible. And if you don't necessarily feel comfortable writing for whatever reason may be, we have ways around that. You can learn more information by checking out the links in the description of this episode or visiting baldandbonkers.net, the main company website. Click on where it says take part and why we are supernatural submission form. The link should be there on the screen for those of you watching the video versions of this broadcast. That's all I have for today. I will see you next time. Much love. Take care. And I'll see you again.
To be glanced into every song, jamming all night long. Neon lights where we belong, dance to cosmic throng. From the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond, turning lives and spirits free. Dakota's rocking on. From the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond, turning